This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome back to Chapter 2 of Cryptocurrency Chronicles, The Rise of Digital Cash. In this episode titled Ethereum, Beyond Currency to a Decentralized World, we'll explore how Ethereum is reshaping the blockchain landscape and what that means for the future of technology. So, let's dive in. Bitcoin proved money could live on the internet. Ethereum asked a bigger question. What if the entire legal and financial system could too? Tonight, we're stepping onto a blockchain where code replaces middlemen, strangers make deals, and the rules rewrite themselves in public. Here's where Ethereum starts to feel less like internet money and more like a parallel digital civilization. Instead of just tracking who owns what, it lets people upload logic, tiny programs that say, if X happens, then do Y, and then enforces that logic without asking anyone's permission. Artists use it to sell NFTs that automatically pay them a cut on every resale. DAOs use it to run on-chain treasuries where every vote, every allocation is visible. DeFi protocols like Uniswap match traders algorithmically, holding billions in liquidity without a traditional exchange floor. Underneath all this, a vast network of validators quietly agrees on every state change, turning dry code into living institutions that anyone with an internet connection can tap into. So how does this digital civilization stay online without a central IT department? Under the hood, Ethereum runs on thousands of independent machines, all executing the same instructions and keeping the same shared record. Developers write programs for this world in languages like Solidity, then deploy them to the network as smart contracts, where they become long-lived services anyone can tap into. The Ethereum virtual machine enforces a strict rule. Every operation has a measurable cost, paid in gas, which acts like a meter preventing spam, wasteful code, and runaway computations. Here's where Ethereum shifts from cool apps on a chain to something closer to public infrastructure. At the core is a simple idea. Instead of one company running a server, thousands of validators run the same computation and compare notes. When you interact with a smart contract, mint a token, vote in a DAO, swap assets, your transaction is broadcast to this network. Validators package it into blocks, execute the contract's code, and update Ethereum's global state. If your transaction doesn't follow the rules baked into that contract, every honest node rejects it. There's no help desk to appeal to, just consensus. This is why standards matter so much. ERC-20 gave developers a common playbook for fungible tokens, how balances are tracked, how transfers work, what approve means. That consistency is what let wallets, exchanges, and lending markets all plug into tens of thousands of different assets without custom integration for each. The NFT standards, ERC-721, ERC-1155, did the same for unique and semi-fungible items. One interface, millions of tokens, interoperable by default. But all this shared computation has a trade-off. Every full node has to be able to verify everything. That's why Ethereum feels slower and more expensive than a centralized exchange or database. To keep it sustainable, the community has been moving toward a layered design. The base chain focuses on security and consensus. Layer 2 networks handle bulk activity off-chain, then periodically post compressed proofs back to Ethereum. The upcoming Proto-Dank sharding upgrade is designed to supercharge that pattern with cheaper data space for rollups, aiming to cut fees without sacrificing verification. Energy is another axis of evolution. The 2022 merge replaced power-hungry mining with proof of stake, where validators put capital, not electricity, on the line. With over 800,000 validators participating, it's costly to misbehave and relatively easy to join, whether directly or through staking pools. Critics worry about large operators gaining influence, but the rules are transparent and exits are built in. Think of it less as a speculative asset and more as a neutral settlement layer, a place where code, not companies, guarantees that agreements execute the same way for everyone, everywhere. On the ground, this neutral settlement layer already feels like infrastructure people forget they're even using. A game studio can issue in-game items as tokens, letting players trade gear across different titles without waiting for a publisher's blessing. A musician can launch a token-gated community where concert tickets, backstage passes, and voting on set lists all live in one programmable space. Crowdfunding shifts from money disappears into a black box to campaigns where funds unlock only when milestones are proven on-chain. The same rails support experiments in governance, city-level projects exploring transparent procurement, university groups running grants with open voting, co-ops coordinating revenue shares in real time. For developers, composability becomes the real superpower, borrowing open-source building blocks for identity, payments, or access control, then snapping them together into services that can outlive any one company. Like an urban planner working with shared utilities, water, power, roads, they focus less on laying pipes and more on designing the neighborhoods that sit on top. If Ethereum keeps scaling, everyday tools may slowly plug into it behind the scenes, salaries streaming by the second, mortgages that adjust terms automatically, and wallets doubling as passports for apps and cities alike. Competing chains will push it to specialize, much like ports in a global shipping network. Your health data, game items, and credit history could travel that network as modular containers, moved by apps you barely notice, until one goes offline and nothing actually breaks. As more layers, tools, and communities stack on top, Ethereum starts to feel less like a product and more like a growing digital city, messy, experimental, unfinished. Streetlights, standards, are still being wired, new districts, L2s, appear overnight, and yet people keep moving in, testing whether shared code can anchor shared value at global scale. Here's your challenge this week. Pick one real Ethereum dApp, for example, Uniswap, Aave, or Lens Protocol, and actually use it end-to-end with a small amount of test funds. Set up a wallet like MetaMask, bridge or acquire a tiny amount of ETH on mainnet or a testnet like Sepolia, and complete one on-chain action, swap a token, provide a bit of liquidity, or make a post interaction on a decentralized social app. Then, open a block explorer like Etherscan, find your wallet address, and review the exact transaction you just made so you can see how your action lives on-chain. This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow!